are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. So, PlayStation just dropped a surprise announcement. We're getting a brand new State of Play Japan tomorrow, November 11th at 2 p.m. Pacific Time or 5 p.m. Eastern. It's gonna run for more than 40 minutes. And the best part? It's a special episode dedicated entirely to games made in Japan and across Asia. Now, the post on the PlayStation blog didn't name any specific titles, but it did say the show will feature beloved series and distinctive indie creations, plus a few exciting updates, which basically means, yeah, expect some surprises. It's gonna be hosted by none other than Japanese voice actor Yuki Kaji, the same guy who voices Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan and Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia. That alone makes it sound like Sony wants this presentation to feel more personal, more cultural, more rooted in Japan's own gaming identity. The show will be in Japanese, but don't worry, there's an English-subbed version going up on the official PlayStation YouTube channel too. And that's important because while this might sound like a regional broadcast, PlayStation clearly wants the global audience to tune in. Now, everyone's wondering what we might see. No official hints yet, but let's be real. When they highlight Japan and Asia, you instantly think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Rise of the Ronin, Dragon's Dogma 2, or maybe even a surprise update from Team Asobi or Capcom. This could also be a moment for PlayStation to spotlight some of the smaller but insanely stylish indie games coming out of Japan's creative scene. And I love that they're doing this. Japan's gaming culture has always been PlayStation's heart. It's where the DNA of the brand comes from. Those experimental, story-driven, deeply emotional games that made the PS1 and PS2 era unforgettable. So when they dedicate an entire State of Play to that legacy, it feels like they're saying, hey, this is who we are. It's also interesting timing. Sony just teased their cross-buy plans for PS5 and PC, and now they're shining a spotlight on Asian developers. You can almost see the bigger picture forming. PlayStation's doubling down on its roots while quietly expanding its reach across platforms and regions. So yeah, tomorrow's show could end up being a lot more important than people think. Even if it's mainly Japanese content, don't be surprised if we get a teaser or two that hits globally. 40 minutes is a long time for Sony. And as always, I'll be covering everything right here. Expect breakdowns, highlights, and probably a few "did you see that" moments. Because when Japan shows up, it's never boring. So yeah, after PlayStation announced that Japan-focused State of Play for this week, fans instantly started buzzing about what could show up. And honestly, one name keeps popping up over and over: Phantom Blade Zero. If you've been following it, you probably remember that S-Game, the studio behind it, said we'd get a release date before the end of the year. Well, this event feels like the perfect place for that reveal. PlayStation's marketing push for Phantom Blade Zero has been massive, especially across Asia. It's been front and center at every major event, from China Joy to TGS. Sony clearly believes in this one. The gameplay looked slick. That blend of Souls-like combat with kung fu fluidity, fast parries, and cinematic movement. It's one of those games that instantly caught people's attention the first time we saw it. And since this upcoming State of Play is focused on Japan and the broader Asian market, it fits like a glove. So this one's kind of emotional, honestly. Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Super Mario, has opened up about how his role has changed after stepping back from leading development on Nintendo's biggest series. In a new interview celebrating Super Mario Bros.' 40th anniversary, Miyamoto said he's now letting others handle most of the creative work on new Mario games. He's still involved, but only in a more personal, guiding way. He said he plays through the first 30 minutes of every new Mario game to make sure it still feels like Mario. That's classic Miyamoto right there. The man's 72 now, but still sharp enough to notice the tiny things that define a Mario game. The physics, the timing, the way the jump feels, even how the menus look. That's what he means by feels like Mario. He also said he's surrounded by an amazing team that maintains the Mario world now. Basically, he trusts them completely, but he still likes to check in, almost like a proud parent making sure the next generation keeps keeps the heart of it alive. And that makes sense. In recent years, we've seen Miyamoto step more into public appearances and big picture projects. He's been front and center for things like the Super Nintendo World Parks and the Mario movie, while designers like Yoshiaki Koizumi have started taking the spotlight for game development. Koizumi's rumored to be leading the next big 3D Mario title, which, if true, means we're probably getting something major for the next Nintendo console. Miyamoto also teased something interesting. He said that up through Super Mario Odyssey, the team has done pretty much everything they could on the Switch. He laughed about wondering how the new team will handle the next challenge once new hardware arrives, saying, "Maybe I'll say I won't look anymore." He even joked that his goal now is just to stay healthy until Mario's 50th anniversary in 10 years. And man, that line hits. Because if you grew up with Mario, you grew up with Miyamoto too. He's one of the last great legends still shaping gaming today.
To realize that power, there's something you need to do. You need to be your own boss.
It's our time now. Let's get this shit started.
The boss of your job.
This company's nothing.
So right now, the entire gaming industry feels like it's living in the shadow of Grand Theft Auto 6. No matter when Rockstar drops it, it's already guaranteed to be one of the biggest launches of all time. And according to former Saints Row designer Chris Stockman, there's just no competing with GTA anymore. In a recent podcast, Stockman basically said, "You have to be something else." He flat out admitted it's impossible to compete with Rockstar at this point. He compared it to trying to make a Western game that rivals Red Dead Redemption. You just can't. Those games are on a level of cultural impact that goes way beyond normal gaming. And he's right. GTA isn't just a franchise anymore. It's a lifestyle. GTA Online still pulls insane numbers every month, and it's been over a decade since it came out. That game turned into an economy, a platform, and a social space all at once. It's basically digital Los Santos, where people clock in every night. Stockman said the key isn't trying to be Rockstar. It's about finding your own identity, doing something focused, and carving out your lane. He believes it's still totally possible to be number two. You just need to make something smart, polished, and confident in what it is. Honestly, that's great advice for the whole industry right now. Because think about it. Saints Row, Watch Dogs, Sleeping Dogs, all those games tried to be the next GTA at some point, and they all ended up struggling to live up to it. Not because they were bad, but because they didn't have the same weight, history, or attention to detail Rockstar brings to the table. Stockman also revealed that he's been asked to pitch a new Saints Row sequel, but that project hasn't come together yet.
So those are the three pieces of advice I generally give people. The broader piece of advice is, and you and I have talked about this, is think about what you want long term. Yeah, we all, human beings believe that what's going on now will never change. Like, this situation will never change. This political situation will never change. This economic situation will never change. But the truth is that everything changes. Everything changes, and we change. And you're not going to stay this age any more than I am.
Yep.
So think about where you'll be in not tomorrow, not next week. Don't think about your first job out of school. Think about what you want to be doing, both personally and professionally, in 20 years, and drive toward that goal. That's much more likely to benefit you than thinking about what the highest paying opportunity is right as you get out of school. That your first job out of school is never going to matter. I mean, except that it's on a pathway to where you're trying to get to. So I always encourage people to think about their goals, truly about what they want long-term, both personally and professionally, and don't substitute other people's goals for you for your own.
So, one of the biggest stories in gaming this year isn't even about a new console or game. It's about money. EA is reportedly being sold for $55 billion to an investor group led by Saudi Arabia. Yeah, $55 billion. That's one of the largest deals we've ever seen in this industry. The sale isn't final yet, but if it goes through, EA would become a private company again, meaning they'd no longer have to report to shareholders or file public earnings. And that alone would shake up the entire landscape of gaming. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick was asked about it during their latest earnings call, and his answer was surprisingly humble. He said he's not sure how things will play out if EA goes private, because if that happens, Take-Two becomes the last major publicly traded publisher of that scale left in the US. Some analysts think this could actually help Take-Two, since they'd be the only big American studio still operating publicly. But Zelnick isn't celebrating. He said, "We're We're always running scared around here, and followed it up with, arrogance is the enemy of continued success. That's honestly one of the most honest takes I've heard from a CEO in a long time. He basically said, the reason Take-Two is doing well is because they focus on creative quality first, not just the financials. He admitted it's possible that EA going private gives them a little breathing room competitively, but it's too early to know. He also said something interesting, that a healthy industry needs more than one big player. He doesn't want to see a monopoly where only one company dominates, because when that happens, innovation dies. And while all this was happening, Take-Two also confirmed another delay for GTA 6. Yeah, again, it was first pushed from fall 2025 to May 2026, and now it's been delayed again to November 2026. Rockstar said the extra time will go toward polishing the game, which is classic Rockstar talk at this point. But given their recent controversy, where they fired dozens of employees for gross misconduct after leaks, the studio's under a ton of pressure. A labor union is even claiming those firings were retaliation against employees who were trying to unionize. So, between the EA sale, Rockstar's delays, and the ongoing internal drama, it kind of feels like we're watching a turning point for the entire industry. Big money's taking over, private investors are stepping in, public studios are becoming rare, and developers are getting squeezed in the middle of it. If EA's deal actually closes in 2026, that's going to change how games get made, funded, and released. Private companies can take bigger creative risks, but they also don't owe players or investors transparency. That could mean more freedom, or it could mean more corporate control behind the curtain. Either way, Strauss Zelnick's words hit hard. He knows the competition's changing. He knows Rockstar's under the microscope, but his focus remains the same: make the best entertainment on Earth. And in a world where billion-dollar investors are buying up gaming giants, that mindset might be the only thing keeping this industry grounded. So Sony's swinging the legal hammer again, and this time it's aimed at an eBay seller who's been accused of selling fake PS5 accessories. Yeah, you heard that right. Someone out there was listing PS5 carry cases for $90 using PlayStation logos like it was official merch. Sony saw that and basically said, nope, not today. In the court papers filed on October 24th in Illinois, Sony claims the seller, who goes by Zaoquan-002, was running what looked like a proper online store, the kind of shop that might trick you into thinking you're buying the real deal. But according to Sony, the products were completely unauthorized. They even said the seller was targeting US customers directly and using PlayStation branding to move fake gear. Here's where it gets wild. The eBay store's now sold out, but it shows over 9,000 items sold and more than 500 followers. And one of the items listed, that $90 PS5 carrying case, is literally being used in court as evidence. There's a screenshot of it in the legal papers. Sony's lawyers said the seller was trying to hide their identity using fake names, and they suspect they're based somewhere in China or a country where trademark enforcement is weak. Now, Sony isn't just asking for a refund or some takedown notice. They're asking for up to $2 million for each and every time the PlayStation trademark was used. Yeah, not in total, for every single use. That's massive. And on top of that, Sony's asking for a permanent ban to stop this seller from ever advertising or selling anything that even looks PlayStation related again. This whole case kind of shows how aggressive Sony's been about protecting its brand lately. It's not the first time they've done this. Back in 2021, they went after Dbrand for selling custom PS5 faceplates. Dbrand had to pull the product immediately after getting a cease and desist letter. And then, in classic Dbrand fashion, they came back 3 days later with a new design they claimed was original. Another company, Customize My Plates, had it even worse. They had to cancel all PS5 plate sales completely after Sony pressured them legally. Eventually, Sony just patented the PS5's faceplates outright, so nobody could make or sell them without permission. That move made it clear Sony wants total control over how the PS5 looks and what accessories carry that logo. And it's not just third-party sellers they're going after. Sony's also suing Tencent right now over Light of Motoram, which they're calling a blatant clone of Horizon Zero Dawn. According to Sony, Sony, it's such a copy that the public immediately noticed all the recycled elements. They're saying it threatens the Horizon franchise's reputation and future plans. All of this kind of paints a picture of Sony going full brand protection mode. They're tightening up their ecosystem, protecting the PlayStation name, and sending a message that if you try to profit off their IP, whether it's fake hardware or look-alike games, they'll hunt you down. So, let's talk about these new rumors about PlayStation testing a cross-buy feature for PS5 and PC. Yeah, apparently Sony might finally let you buy a game once and own it on both platforms. Data miners found some hidden code in the PlayStation Store mentioning a new PS5/PC cross-buy tag, and that instantly got the whole community talking. People are calling it Sony's version of Xbox's Play Anywhere. You know, that thing where you buy one copy and get it on console and PC automatically. Now, here's where opinions start to split. Some fans love the idea, especially those who already play on both platforms. Others think this is Sony slowly breaking down the exclusive wall that used to define PlayStation. And that's fair. PlayStation built its legacy on exclusives. From God of War to Spider-Man to The Last of Us, these games made the brand what it is. But the industry's changing fast. What people sometimes forget is that this move doesn't mean every PlayStation exclusive is going to launch on PC day one. It's more like a quality of life feature for gamers who already own both. If you bought a game on your PS5 and later build a PC rig, you shouldn't have to pay again. That's the whole point of cross-buy. It respects your purchase. And honestly, I think that's a massive win. It shows Sony's finally starting to understand that a lot of gamers live in both worlds now. You can love your console, but also want to play on your PC setup with ultra-wide DLSS, mods, the whole deal. It's not about loyalty anymore. It's about flexibility. But yeah, this still doesn't mean day one launches are coming anytime soon. Sony's still gonna protect its big first-party lineup and the PlayStation ecosystem. That's what drives console sales, subscriptions, and all those PSN extras. What we're seeing is more of a middle ground, a smart business move that keeps PlayStation competitive while giving gamers more freedom. In the long run, if this feature becomes official, it could reshape how we think about exclusives altogether. Imagine a future where your library just follows you. PS5, PC, handheld, whatever. No double dipping, no waiting years for ports, no feeling punished for owning both systems. And personally, I love it. So, The Outer Worlds 2 finally dropped, and man, the reactions are all over the place. You've got critics calling it a step up, fans arguing it feels the same, and a handful of people just dunking on it for being woke. Classic internet chaos, right? So, let's just talk about it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Alright, first, the good. Most people actually agree this sequel is way better to play. The combat feels tighter, the shooting snappier, and the RPG mechanics finally make sense this time. Like, remember in the first game when you'd spend 5 minutes in menus trying to figure out if a perk even mattered? Yeah, that's gone. You actually feel like your choices shape your build now. It's just more fun minute to minute. The world's bigger, there's more loot, and more reasons to replay it. Some people even compared it to New Vegas in terms of choice freedom, which is probably the biggest compliment an Obsidian game can get. But then, the bad. Story-wise, it's just not hitting as hard as people hope. The writing? It's okay. It's witty sometimes, but the emotional depth isn't there. Kotaku literally called it a hollow romp. And yeah, I kinda get that. It's one of those games where you enjoy exploring, but you don't really care why you're doing it. The quests feel familiar, the side characters don't stick with you, and the satire, the whole anti-corporate dystopian message, feels watered down. Like PC Gamer said, it's toothless. You can tell they wanted to critique capitalism again, but this time, it just feels safe. And now, the ugly. Because hoo boy, it gets messy. First off, performance. The PC version is rough, even on high-end rigs with ray tracing on. Some players reported frame drops so bad it dipped below 60 at 540p. Yeah, that's not a typo. On console, it's smoother, but not perfect either. And then there's the community side of things. The so-called woke thread on Steam. People losing their minds over minor dialogue choices or character diversity. Like, come on, half the outrage isn't even about the game itself, it's just noise. But what really stings is the hype versus reality. The game was almost almost priced at $80 at one point before they dropped it to $70. And even then, people are saying it feels like a $50 game, which, yeah, kinda true. It's not bad, it's just not the massive RPG people were expecting. If I'm being honest, it's one of those games where the gameplay keeps you hooked, but the story doesn't push you forward. You'll have fun, sure. The shooting's satisfying, the visuals are nice, and the humor's still there. But once the credits roll, you probably won't remember much. It's a good game, just not a great one. So Digital Foundry finally did their deep dive on The Outer Worlds 2, and it's kind of a wild one, especially if you're playing on PS5 or PS5 Pro. Let's unpack this together, because what they found says a lot about how messy console optimization can still be in 2025. So first off, on the regular PS5, Outer Worlds 2 looks good, but not great. Digital Foundry noticed that the resolution dips pretty often, especially in performance mode. It's supposed to target 60 frames per second, but the image actually drops close to 1080p at times, and even then, it still struggles to hold that smooth 60 FPS line. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series X is sitting around 1440p most of the time in that same mode, and it runs more stable. You can already see where this is going, right? Now, you'd think the PS5 Pro would fix that, because, you know, Pro means more power, higher resolution, smoother frame rates. But no, Digital Foundry found that the Pro version actually introduces a brand new problem. The game uses Sony's new upscaling tech called PSSR, and it just doesn't play nice with Unreal Engine 5's lighting system, Lumen. What that means is, during gameplay, you'll see flickering visual noise in shadows, and kind of this weird shimmer when the lighting shifts. Basically, it looks unstable. So instead of the PS5 Pro version being the definitive PlayStation experience, it's actually the one with the most visual hiccups. It's ironic. Sony made this upscaling tech to make games look sharper and run faster, but in Outer Worlds 2, it's the thing that breaks the presentation. Developers have even started patching the game to remove PSSR entirely and go back to UE5's native upscaler TSR just to stabilize it. Digital Foundry's takeaway was pretty clear. The Xbox Series X version is the most polished console version right now. It runs at higher resolution, holds 60 frames per second more consistently, and doesn't have the weird flickering or shadow noise. That's not what PlayStation fans wanted to hear, especially since this game was hyped as one of the big cross-platform benchmarks this year.